name is Paul. I'm one of the trustees of Gosford Bay Outdoors. And Gosford Bay Outdoors is the Scottish charity which has taken on the renovation of Towford Outdoor Centre, which you can see behind me. A quick history lesson. The Towford Outdoor Centre started off life as a school for kids in the local area, farmers' kids mostly. At its height, there were 40 children in attendance here. The school opened in the 1890s and ran until 1964, where it closed as a school but was ran as an outdoor centre by the local authority. That situation kept on until 1996, when cutbacks forced it to close. At that point, another organisation called Renovation took it on and opened it as a charitable trust, outdoor centre for hire to scouts, cycling clubs, all that kind of stuff. In 2004, the Renovation Trust, I think the trustees retired. We're not entirely sure what happened, but the Renovation Outdoor Centre Trust was taken over by another trust, an arm's length organisation affiliated with the council, and it gets a bit hazy from that point onwards. We looked to take it on as a scout group. Gosford Bay Outdoors, by the way, is an offshoot of a scout group, more or less. We looked to take it on in around 2014 maybe, but got gazumped by another organisation which did do some work, but we're only here for about 2 or 3 years. They moved on, we found out that it was empty, abandoned again, and then stepped in. And we've been involved since early 2019. COVID kicked in, so that kind of put a kibosh on things. But since COVID died down, what we've been doing is we've been coming down and we've been just making the place look a bit looked after, and we've been developing the site for camping. We've not done anything in the building. We're not going to go into the building in this video. We're going to have a look at the grounds, because we've done a lot of work on the grounds to make them useful, because it was massively overgrown. There was parts of the grounds that you just couldn't get to. So Gosford Bay Outdoors is loosely affiliated with Scouts, loosely, but we're not Scouts. What we do is we bring teams of young people down who do the work, which sounds like slave labour. It's not. I do some work as well. Basically, the young folk come down, they get a chance to come into the countryside and shovel some aggregate and dig holes and learn how to use strimmers, lawnmowers, chainsaws, all sorts of bits of equipment. And also we camp down here and we do the usual outdoorsy stuff. Currently we've got the youngest team here, and they're clearing some drainage ditches, which isn't really very glamorous, but hey, they're keen. What can you do? We've got 3 age groups. We've got a young group, which is them, they're sort of 14, 15. We've got a middle group, they are 15, 16, and then we've got an old group, and they are 16, 17, 18. And we come down on Sundays usually, and we do a lot of work. We make sure the place looks looked after, or less abandoned, because that tends to attract negative attentions from passers-by, and that involves a lot of strimming in the summer and just a lot of tidying up in the winter. We've not really done much in the house because we've only just signed paperwork. It literally took 4 years to get the paperwork in line, and what we have is a 3-year option to lease. So we've got about 3 years to get all the administration and money in place to do a full renovation, which we think will cost about £250,000, which is a lot of money, especially now when people are skint. The idea, once it's done, is that it is open for youth groups to use, so scouts, cadets, guides, basically any youth group, any organised youth group. But hopefully we'll also be able to get young people who wouldn't normally be able to access the countryside down here and into the area, because it's very remote. We're in the foothills of the Cheviots and the Kale Valley. There's literally nothing for a mile in any direction. There's a house over yonder. It's maybe about half a mile away, so maybe not a mile. That might have been an exaggeration, but it's very remote. We've got a lot of wildlife on site. I saw some red squirrels. We're quite excited about that. Well, I am. They don't give a shit. They don't care. So yeah, that's the idea. That's the aspiration, is that eventually when it's open, it's basically going to get put back to what it was before, which is an outdoor centre, an old school outdoor education centre. That's the plan. Whether it turns out that way, well, who knows. Let's go and have a look around. Coming around the front of the building, you can see behind us there, we've already been recycling lots of wood from where we are from, up in East Lothian, which is where we are based, and we've been bringing it down, building benches and tables and whatnot. This is the main entrance to the building, but we're not going in. As I say, it used to be a school, and I'm trying to find photos of it as a school, but really the history is really quite scarce. 1964 was when the last pupils attended, so if anyone knows or if anyone has any information, get in touch. So leaving the building behind, we come down to our main campfire area. Again, this was kind of here when we arrived, but we've augmented and improved it. You can see we've got a campfire circle, benches, food supplies. There's the old toilet block up here, the old outbuilding. We might actually get that back up and operating for campers so that they're not going into the building to use the toilets. We actually reinstated the toilets in the building for use. The water's not drinkable. It's a wee bit on... Do you know when you flush the toilet, it doesn't look like you flush the toilet? Because it's the water that's coming out the tank, it's an off-grid supply, is roughly the same colour as... Yeah, so anyway, people go in and say, oh, you didn't flush the toilet. It's like, they did. So we've got our campfire circle here. We're quite proud of our campfire circle. Lots of seating, lots of space, we've got grates, we've camped here 2 or 3 times. And then down from our campfire circle, we've got campsite number 1. This is, we're not sure what that is. And we did it, or rather the young people did it, but yeah, best not to ask. Anyway, moving down to our first campsite. So this is kind of the biggest flat area we've got. It's flattish, it's not totally flat. And as you can see, we've been trimming and keeping on top of the grass here. We had a lot of fallen trees and a lot of storm damage, and we're still dealing with that. That's a lot of work, and we're slowly working our way through that, kind of getting the wood all piled up. And mostly where possible, leaving it where it is, because if you lay it down on the ground, it rots, and then you can't really use it for anything. So at least if it's fallen but up off the ground, it'll season quite nicely, and then when it comes to us needing it, we can get in there with chainsaws and use it. Over there, over that dip is where our water feature is. It's kind of like a nature pond. We'll go and have a look at that next. There's also a wee bit of the Cale burn that comes into the land, so we'll go down and have a look. Really what this is a bit of a floodplain. We've got our somewhat stagnant water feature here. We need to unblock the outflow from this. We've just actually crossed over it. The Cale burns over there and it feeds in. There's a channel that feeds into this, and then there's a channel over here that feeds out, but it's kind of blocked. So we trailblazed this path in down to the side of the river so that we could access the river, and then we've already been in the river tidying up lots of fallen wood in there, branches and stuff trailing in the water, which have caused it to get clogged up. If properly managed, we think the land down here would be dry. I mean, if there was like a rainstorm, it would flood, but you could camp down here because it's quite flat. Next to water, insects, bit of an issue, but you know, it's not that bad, it's not too bad. At dusk, there are a lot of midges. We camped here a couple of weekends ago, and yeah, there was midges in the morning and midges at dusk, but during the day, there's flies and stuff, but it's not too bad. Let's go and have a look at the river, the Cale burn. The river's really low just now, but it's an ideal river if you've got kids and they just want to have a good wallow. It's really quite pleasant. And the insect life is, to be fair, it's not always this low. It can be quite irritating down here, but it's nice. It's a lovely day. So this is our hilltop campsite. It's a wee bit lumpy in places, but if you get your tent pitched just so, it's quite nice. Also, we've got red squirrels in this part of the woods here. I've got a nature camera up there set to catch the squirrels. Well, not dogging, it's actually for the squirrels. So I'm going to go and get that in a minute. So this is hilltop campsite, and we're going to go through and have a look, because we've got 2 open spaces, and what happens is they get very overgrown with bracken. So we put a cutting disc on one of our strimmers, and we cut a maze into the bracken. So we've got 2 open areas, one here, and then there's another one over there. Let's go and have a look and see if we can find that nature camera, see what we've caught. Nature camera. I've not looked at it yet, but we'll see. I know that this is where I saw I'm getting beasties on me. This is where I saw the red squirrel. It came from over here, and then it kind of had a wee time on top of that broken tree there, and then it scurried off. We think the building and land has such a tremendous amount of potential with the right investment and effort. That potential could hopefully be realised. I think it'll be really difficult in the climate we're currently in, but I think it's worth doing. Bearing in mind that the people that are involved in the charity are comfortable, you know. We come from an area that is not impoverished, and what we're trying to do is use our privilege, if you like, I don't like using that word, but use our privilege and our advantage and our luck, or just our luck, to do something that maybe people that didn't have those chances, maybe didn't have that luck, don't have that privilege, to get out into a setting like this and enjoy it, and also learn a little bit about the countryside, about nature, about how to survive, about how to use knife, axe and saw, how to camp, how to set fires safely, and all that good stuff. That's the plan. Whether we can do it or not, it just depends on whether we can raise the money. There'll be other stuff on the channel, stuff that we're doing, activities. We come down, we camp, we shoot guns, air guns, we set fires, we put tents up, we build things as well, so there'll be lots of interesting things to look at. Today was just an introduction, and I hope it wasn't too boring. My name is Paul, and this is Gosford Bay Outdoors. Cheers.